Is living cheaply for the next 20, 30 years really the way to reach financial freedom? My answer to that question is no. Resounding no. And so over the last 8 years, I've experimented with 5 principles in what I call a new kind of financial minimalism that I'm using to help me reach my financial goals without sacrificing too much of my quality of life. Number 1 is you want to pay yourself first. Something that I've learned over the years is that we still need to enjoy life. And so you calculate your financial freedom number, you calculate the number of years that you're okay with taking, reaching that number, and then whatever money you have left, you do enjoy it. You do go to a fine dining restaurant if you want to. You do take that vacation. You don't have to live that cheap and frugal life, provided that you've paid yourself first. So that's the first principle that will make your financial life a lot easier. The second principle of new financial minimalism is something I call utility per use. And utility is this word that economists use to describe the satisfaction we get from consuming a product or service. Traditional financial minimalism tells you to focus on experiences. And that makes sense because experiences are often a one-time thing. And because it's a one-time thing that is so unique, it provides a much higher utility than something like a mug, right? Because every time you use it to drink water, drinking water is not that exciting. And therefore, it is justified that you spend more money on experiences compared to things. New financial minimalism places a focus on utility per use. And so instead of thinking about utility as the satisfaction you get from buying the thing, utility per use is how happy you are to use something over time. And so there's a satisfaction I get from using this mug. Every time I use this mug, I'm happy. The longer I'm able to use it, the more money I should be okay with spending on this mug. And so the idea that you should just spend money on experiences and not stuff isn't true on things that have functional value. And so while old financial minimalism tells you to focus on experiences and be super frugal with stuff and don't buy anything, new financial minimalism asks you to be more self-aware and says, yes, experiences are great, but are there things that once you buy make your life better over time? And if there are, you can buy those things, provided you are meeting your savings goals and investing goals. Okay, let's go to the third principle, and this might ruffle a few feathers. Traditional financial minimalism and FIRE tells us to save and invest our way to retirement. In new financial minimalism, we build towards an early retirement. Now, I'm not saying saving and investing is bad. It is something we should do, but it shouldn't be plan A. It should be plan B. It should be our fail-safe. Like, we should be figuring out how to make more money instead of just trying to pinch every penny and save the money that we are already making. Because there's a limit to the amount of money we can actually save until it negatively affects our living standard. But there is no limit to the amount of money we can make if we learn the right skills, which is why I'm such a big advocate of having a career that pays the bills plus a little bit more that allows you to meet your saving goals, but doesn't suck up all of your waking hours. So for example, I'm a teacher. I don't have to take work home with me most of the time. That gives me 3 to 5 hours every single night to work on my passion project. I would rather have my job right now making just over $100,000 but finishing at 4:30 every day compared to being an investment banker making $250,000 to $400,000 a year but having to work 70, 80 hours. Most people are at jobs they don't even like. And so to do that and do it for 70 hours is miserable. So get a career where you make enough money to pay the bills and then some, and then spend the rest of the time trying to build that thing, that side hustle, that online business, whatever it is. So let's move on to the fourth principle. And this one's unique. It's something I call clarity of inputs. Now, traditional budgeting school tells us to track all our expenses. I had a budgeting app where I would write down like every single transaction that I spend money on, and it would track, okay, like you spent this much on food, this much on entertainment. And while it was fun to look at those stats at the end of every single month, it was also a lot of work to track everything. And so that's when I started thinking about, okay, like are there metrics or indicators that if I tracked would remove the need for me to track everything else? And there was. And it's something I call average daily spend. And so an average daily spend is just the amount of money that you are willing to spend every day while meeting your investment goals. And so for example, if I make $10,000 a month, just for the math, and I want to save half of it, 50%, it means I have $5,000 a month left to spend. Now I subtract all my fixed expenses like rent and car payments and all of that. So let's pretend that adds up to $2,000. So I have $3,000 left to spend after my fixed expenses, which means 3,000 divided by 30 days is about $100 a day. So as long as I spend less than $100 every single day, I will definitely be able to meet my savings goals. And all of a sudden, I don't have to track anything and my life is super easy. If you do that over a long period of time, it is impossible for you not to save money. And so whereas old financial minimalism and FIRE encouraged you to track every single thing, new financial minimalism is actual minimalism. Only track the things that matter. Now, are there other metrics you can track aside from average daily spend? Yes, and maybe we'll go into those metrics in the future. It all depends on your goals, and I can talk a long time about this. The fifth principle, and this one is the most important principle of all, and it is a principle that traditional FIRE and financial minimalism just ignores. It's not even possible with traditional FIRE and frugality and financial minimalism. And it's the idea of radical generosity, to give your loved ones the life you believe they deserve. I don't know how many of you are parents, but ever since I became a parent, I've wanted to give my son the best. I think we should reserve a portion of our money to spend on the people that we love and care about. Because when you think about it, what's the point of FIRE? What's the point of retiring early? It's so you can live the life you want to live. And I am willing to go as far as saying that the life that I want to live is a life where I can provide for those that I love. Not a life where if we pinch pennies, we can get by because we have a certain amount invested in the stock market. It doesn't matter. If you know all these principles, but you're not the right type of person to implement these principles into your own life. And so if you're curious about the differences between people who stay poor and people who become wealthy that I've observed over the years, then watch this video right here.